It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha. Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brouhaha. Sitting here looking at Dale McKee. This is Marshall Wood, ready to talk a little bit about sports. Speaking of sports, I'm looking at a sport.
You know what I heard on...
Come on with it.
Yeah.
What'd you hear?
I got a little Sirius radio.
Oh, yeah. You get serious with the radio.
I get serious with it sometimes.
Okay.
Anyway, there's a channel that I like to listen to sometime when I'm not listening to Weibo.
There you go.
There you go. Anyway, it's a 70s channel. It plays music of the 70s.
Yeah.
Anyway, the announcer on there said today that today is the only day in 2025 that all our major sports leagues will be playing. Okay. Now this is yesterday. Okay. This was Monday.
So
Monday. Let's see. Monday. Yeah, I believe it was Monday. That was yesterday, wasn't it? Monday.
yeah. So we're talking about hockey.
Hockey, Major League Soccer, football, baseball, and the NBA. And it's the only day of the year that all 5 sports will play.
Is this every year at this day, or
No,
is it just
no.
this year?
No, it's because of Monday Night Football,
Oh.
and of course the World Series being played tonight.
Yeah.
And sometimes the World Series played on Tuesdays,
Yeah.
and this year they put it on Monday. And so anyway, they usually start the World Series on Saturday and Sunday, and this year they started it on Friday and Saturday and took Sunday off.
Huh.
And then that was their travel day from Toronto to L.A. Looks like they'd give them an extra day, doesn't it? That's a long hike from Toronto to L.A., I would think.
I would say it is. So who you like?
Well, I think the Dodgers are the best team. I mean, they got the best player in the world, and they may have the best clutch player in the world in Freddie Freeman.
Yeah.
But Ohtani is a great baseball player.
Yeah.
He can pitch and he can hit.
Has Toronto ever won one?
Yeah, they beat, I believe they beat the Braves back in about 92, and I think they beat the Phillies in 93.
Oh, has a couple of good back-to-back seasons there, buddy. World champions.
Yeah, sure was.
It's as good as it gets, man.
Yeah, most
Well,
definitely.
that's a pretty good. That's one of the things. I mean, there's only like 2 or 3 things I actually like about you, but that's one of them, is that you can come up with stuff like that, Dale. Man, you know everything.
Well, I didn't really come up with it. Somebody else did.
Oh, well, you remembered it.
I remembered it.
Man, that's a big plus.
I still remember something like DeMarcus Bilbo throwing for 324 yards against Wayne County.
Oh, down there at Moss Point.
324 yards. I got that figure in my mind.
He went on and wound up at Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech. Didn't hear much from him after that.
No, we didn't.
I saw him at a football camp before his senior year. My oldest son went up to the Mississippi State football camp, and he was there, and he looked the part of a Division I player.
Yeah.
You know,
He did when he was in high school.
Yeah. He was going into his senior year there.
Yeah.
He could spin the ball, and he had.
Didn't he kick it too?
And he had some height. Yeah, he kicked all the extra points that night against Wayne County.
That's what I thought I remembered.
Yeah, I
I
remember.
wish he could have missed a couple of them.
Well, he wouldn't have helped. We still got beat 18-14 if he didn't make it.
But he need to miss 4 of them.
Yeah.
Of course, he
I
didn't shoot
remember.
up
I remember the Poe boy. Was it Marcus Poe or Marcus Poe?
Yeah, quarterback.
Yeah, ran 90 yards that night.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I remember
Yes, sir.
that.
I remember the Moss Point fans making their way in the stands over on the visitor side that night.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes, sir, buddy.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I always thought there was rules against that, but not in Moss Point. Not that year in Moss Point, because their fans were all up in our grills. Buddy, you hear me? They get up in your face with the head turned sideways. We had Frank Johnston on them, though, son. He was giving them all they could take.
Well, the first time I ever went
God rest his
down,
soul.
I think the first time I ever went down to Moss Point was like in 1974. I went to see Laurel playing a regular season game against Moss Point. They were both undefeated, and they were 1-2 in the state. And I was working for the Laurel Leader Call. I went down there, and that was a hostile place to be.
Who won?
Moss Point beat them that night 28-0, regular season game. Laurel had not given up a point until that point. And then they met again in the South State Championship, and Laurel beat them in the Shrimp Bowl 10-7.
The Shrimp Bowl.
The Shrimp Bowl.
Yes, sir, buddy.
That's some good shrimp out
I could go for shrimp.
Them old guys that was over that bowl, they fed us like in a Legion hut.
Yeah.
Some of us after the game. Boy, that's some good eating.
Good eating. They know how to do it down there. We get those coats.
Hey, and listen, I was the play-by-play guy that night.
Really?
I sure was for. I don't know who was doing it. Somebody was doing it. They played it back in Laurel that week on. I think they did it. What did they call it? It was kind of like a public broadcasting channel.
Yeah.
And of course, they had Comcast at the time, so they put it on one of those channels there. But anyway, but that was my first experience helping call a ball game, and that's what our analysis guy does today, Lee Roberts. Of course, he probably does it a lot better than I do.
So this is our guest, Lee Roberts, tonight.
Yeah.
And he's the.
You anything about Lee?
He's the he played quarterback over at Southern Mississippi, and he's also he's the color guy, right?
Yeah, he's color.
All right. Lee Roberts.
Now,
Is that our guest tonight?
Yeah, Lee took Southern Miss to the Liberty Bowl in sometime 96, 97, somewhere up in there. He took them to the Liberty Bowl, and they won.
Oh.
They won big. They beat Pittsburgh.
I think they had Adelius Thomas on that team too, didn't they?
Yeah.
He was a big part of that victory.
Jeff Posey.
Yeah, there's some dogs on that team, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we're getting along in time. We got a great guest tonight with Lee Roberts from the Southern Mississippi. So Bill and I are going to take a break to hear from one of our sponsors, and we'll be back after this commercial break with Lee Roberts. See you in just a minute.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, Lee. Lee, we appreciate you coming on the show today. We've already, in the introduction, talked all about you, and but we want you to tell us a little bit about your background, like where you played high school, maybe where you grew up, and how you ended up at Southern Miss to start with.
Hey, I'm glad to be talking with you guys this afternoon. Yeah, so grew up in a town called Pace, Florida, which is just the other side of Pensacola, Florida. Played, grew up playing football, baseball, basketball, coached by my dad. My dad was, obviously my biggest supporter. He was my biggest fan. He was also the one that pushed me to be the best that I could be. And he was a pretty good athlete in high school as well. But I had the opportunity, obviously, to play at Pace, Florida with another great quarterback. His name was Thad Busby. He ended up going on to play football at Florida State. Played for head coach McKee Lindsey. Coach Lindsey had the opportunity to coach guys like Emmett Smith over at Escambia High School. So I had a lot of experience, and I was very fortunate just to have a great upbringing, a great coaching staff there at Pace, and the opportunity as well to learn behind somebody like Thad. Thad was just a year ahead of me, so it made me work. It made me go to work every day, and not thinking to try to beat him out, but just to be ready in case something ever happened and I needed to be in there. And I did. I had the opportunity a couple times to play when he was not available, and I think that helped me my senior year as well. So I say all that to say this: wasn't a highly recruited out of high school, just because I only had the opportunity really to play a good bit my senior year. But I did have the opportunity several years to go to the Bowden Academy, and kind of got noticed there. Coach Tommy Bowden recruited me at Auburn. Jeff Bowden was obviously there. So that was kind of how I got my name out there. And really didn't get recruited very much by Southern Miss until kind of late my senior year. A guy named Mike Tollison, who was a defensive line coach, had a relationship with Coach Lindsey, my high school coach. Called him up late in the year, wanted to see what my thoughts and my plans were. And I really wasn't sure what I was going to do. I did want to play college football, but wasn't sure, how that was going to happen. Like I said, I was recruited by Auburn, went several, weekend unofficial visits there and kind of thought that might be a place I would end up until signing day came. But Southern Miss obviously liked what they saw, offered me a scholarship. Coach Bauer had an opportunity to come to my house, and we visited. Like I said, offered me a scholarship, went on the visit. I accepted the scholarship on the visit and, signed that next February. And then I guess the fall of 1994, arrived on campus at Southern Miss. And it was different. It was different then than it is now. Obviously, kids had the opportunity to graduate early. They had the opportunity to come in early in the summer. We did not have that opportunity, so we all arrived at the same time. The freshmen arrived early, a couple of days before the varsity. And when you got on campus, man, it was straight to work. 2-a-day practices. Again, I said it was different. They don't have that opportunity to do that. And went to work, and I guess had the opportunity my junior year, or my freshman year rather. I didn't play my true freshman year, but had the opportunity my redshirt freshman year to back up a guy named Heath Graham. Got a little bit of playing time. Then the next season is kind of when I broke into the starting lineup. We were 4-1 on the year. Only loss was to Alabama. We had beaten University of Georgia earlier that year, but just very unproductive on offense. And so got the chance to have my first start on ESPN2 against East Carolina my sophomore year. So I don't know if you want me to kind of keep going, or if that was kind of
No. You've done great, because I didn't know a lot about your background. I know you were from Florida, and I know that you came in about the mid-'90s. You talked about Busby. Now, what was it, your junior year maybe, or senior year? Y'all met up down there at Florida State. Was that the year?
Yes. So it was actually my sophomore year, that first year that I had started.
Okay.
Like I said, he was a year ahead of me, so he was a junior, and it was the final game of the season. We were coming off a tough double overtime loss to the University of Houston, where they beat us, and the next week we traveled to Florida State. It was neat because got to play against my high school teammate. A lot of get to go back to my home state. A lot of family, a lot of friends, a lot of people from Pace High School actually got to go to that game. And one thing I remember as well, they actually had these T-shirts made, and they were a quarterback, had a picture of a quarterback, and half of him was garnet gold, half of him was black and gold. So that was what a lot of my high school coaches and high school teammates had, and it was neat. It was neat. So we can kind of fast forward past the game, because they did kind of put it on to it. But no, they were really good. Obviously, Warwick Dunn was their tailback. They had 3 All-American guys on the defensive line. Just a rough night for a quarterback, but it was like I said, it was a great experience to get to play against Thad.
Oh yeah. Just going back to your home state must have been a thrill. And you led the Golden Eagles to the Liberty Bowl. I was telling Marshall off the air before we started. Did you let them to the Liberty Bowl and what was it, 96, 97, somewhere up in there?
It was the 97 season. So like I said, my first year starting was halfway through my sophomore year, which was 96. And back then was just the beginning of Conference USA. So in 96, we had only one team actually got to go to a bowl game as far as from the conference. And since Houston had beat us head-to-head, they got to go. And we kind of had some unfinished business. That was kind of our motto in the off season and going into fall camp in 97. And we indeed did. We finished that year 9-3, undefeated in Conference USA. It was beating Tulane, Cincinnati, Louisville, Houston, East Carolina, Memphis, those teams like that. And then we got the opportunity to travel back to Memphis. We played there our final regular season game, and then I got to go back to Memphis to play the Liberty Bowl there on December 31st in 1997 against Pittsburgh. and we walked away with a win there, 41-7. We actually scored on all phases of the game. We scored on offense, scored on defense, and scored on special teams. So it was an all-around team effort, but a fabulous win, and one that'll definitely go down as I think is one of the biggest bowl wins in Southern Miss history.
Oh, definitely. You know, the Eagles have won some, but that may have been the biggest for sure. Well, now let's jump forward a little bit. You brought up, though, before we leave this segment with you, is you brought up the fact of all the teams that we started out in Conference USA with, like East Carolina and a Cincinnati and a Louisville and a Memphis and a Tulane. I don't know if Tulane was in the conference or not, but those those rivalries then, you know, seem to be more and more. You know, it's I'm not talking about Southern Miss right now being in the Sun Belt, but I really miss the old rivalries. I really do, you know, because they were some great ones, and I remember even in basketball, you know, Southern would play folks like South Carolina and DePaul and Marquette, and I mean it was those were fun years back in the day. They sure were.
They were. They were really fun years. I agree, and you know, got a chance to play against some great athletes as well on all those teams. And the next year was '98. That was the year Tulane went 12-0, and you know, just kind of shows you how good, you know, Conference USA was back then. I mean, it was very competitive, week in, week out. I never knew which team was going to step up, who was going to show up, and who was going to win. But so the old Conference USA versus the current Conference USA is what I think is much different. I feel like there's becoming some more and more better rivalries in the Sun Belt now that we're there and getting a chance to play teams like, you know, Louisiana, ULM, South Alabama, Troy, some of those teams. You know, so I think you'll have the chance to get that rivalry feeling back like we did back in the late '90s as well.
Well, I've already got a rivalry going with South Alabama because we hadn't beat them very much here lately. So I'm after that one. I want to win that one this year for sure. Well, let's talk a little bit about the 2025 Golden Eagles. First of all, what do you think is the biggest? I guess the biggest addition are to this year's success. What do we owe this year's success to? Was it hiring Coach Huff, or was it getting a lot of transfers in? Could you just go into a little detail about what your thoughts are?
Yeah, I think it starts with Coach Huff. Obviously, when he was hired, you know, winning the Sun Belt Championship at Marshall, as he called it, the other place, having a chance to bring him and 20 or so of his players with him. They actually got a chance. They never got to celebrate that Sun Belt Championship. They played in that Sun Belt Championship. They did not get to go to a bowl game just because they didn't have enough players. And so when they came to our place, they got to put on the black and gold uniform. They got to step inside the rock. They got to celebrate as teammates. And it's rolling over into success this year as well. Not just the Marshall guys. I mean, there's a bunch of transfers from Utah State, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and not even just the transfers. I mean, we have players that are big-time players as well that's contributing. The Chris Jones, Berdarius, Lewis, those kind of guys. But I'll tell you the biggest difference maker, and I'm not saying that because I'm a quarterback, but it's having a quarterback, a proven winner, a proven leader. If you ask any offensive-minded coach, a great quarterback will make a coach great. And, you know, however much you follow Southern Miss football over the last 5 years, we just haven't had that guy. I mean, we started 20 or more guys behind center over the last 4 or 5 years just because we didn't have that proven leader and that proven player. But we do now with Braylon Braxton. And he's a guy that can spin it. He's a guy that can lead this team. He can move in the pocket. He can do a lot of great things. it's a team effort, but I think it starts there with him. And then if you flip it over to the defensive side, I just feel like this defense is playing with so much confidence right now. They're a team. Yeah, they can kind of make you scratch your head because they can give up a 75-yard touchdown drive to a team that shouldn't drive 75 yards on us. But then when their back's against the wall, they come up with a play or they come up with a stop, and they really help motivate and really change the energy level of that team. But I think those are the two things that are really the big differences: having a proven quarterback and then a defense that is playing with a lot of confidence.
Well, listen, I just know that what is it? The secondaries are the team has 13 interceptions on defense, or they?
Yeah, we had 13 going into Saturday's game, and then they had two more, and then this is a team that really gets after quarterbacks. I mean, it's a defensive line that puts pressure on quarterbacks and makes them throw errant passes. It's a secondary and a linebacking core that really read the ball extremely well, and they break on it. There was a time during the season where it was early on, but we led the league or led the nation in pass breakups. And Coach Huff's comments were, "I don't want to lead the nation in pass breakups because that means you're just knocking the ball down. I want to get our hands on that ball and bring it in for an INT." Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of resonated with this team as they've really started to play extremely well. And yeah, it helps to get those extra possessions as well, getting a takeaway.
Well, you go back to the quarterbacks that you're talking about, and I was there for kind of the rebirth of Southern Miss football and the Division I. There in the early '70s, and I just remember Jeff Bauer was a great quarterback, and then I think in came Reggie Collier.
Reggie Collier.
Yeah, Reggie
Palmer over here.
Yeah, we have Reggie Palmer over here in Waynesboro. But anyway, Reggie Collier came in. Then you had Brett Favre, and then you had some other pretty good quarterbacks in between those. But then you came along, and then it seemed like that. I guess it was
Kelly was in there somewhere.
Jeff Kelly was in there, and then there was a few after him that were pretty good quarterbacks for us. And then we had Austin Davis, and Austin kind of spoiled us for about 4 years, I think. And
he did.
And so I think we've really struggled since Austin. I might be wrong, but the difference, and I watch every game. The difference between this year's team and the teams of the past, say, at least the last 2 years, they don't make just silly mistakes. I mean, they take care of the ball when they have to. I was watching the Saints yesterday, and I couldn't help but laugh. They stopped Tampa on the 1 yard line. I don't know if you saw that. And about two plays later, the quarterback rolls out and throws it. He tries to throw it over about a 6'5" defensive end, and he doesn't quite make it. And they walk in for a touchdown after their defense had stopped them 4 straight plays inside the 2 yard line. And and I almost reflected on a Mississippi State. This year's team seems like they're having a bad luck. They're snake bit, but the Southern Miss teams the last couple of years had the same thing. But
I agree.
All right, now listen, we're 6-2. I saw comments. Coach Huff, I listened to all his media when he's on the media. He says that he didn't want to end up in 6-6 because nobody will go to a bowl if we go 6-6. Nobody will come watch them play. And so I'm just asking you, these last 4 games, everybody's looking forward to that Troy game. What are we going to do in between? Coach Huff just seems like, he is an excellent football coach. I'm serious. I just sit there and I marvel at some of the words that he uses in his press conference. I have to go look up in a dictionary, He's just so academic, but he makes such great sense. And, of course, I know he's from the Nick Saban's tree and everything like that. And I hope we get to keep him because there's too many openings in college football this week, I think, or this past month for sure. So I hope that we get to keep him. But What are your thoughts going forward? Even though that we got to 6, do you think this team is really satisfied with 6 wins?
This team is not. This team, they still have an opportunity to reach every goal that they had put in place at the beginning of the year, and ultimately they want to play for a conference championship. They want to host a conference championship, and they want to go to a bowl game, and all that is still available. Got to have some help, obviously, on the east side, but I think we kind of control our own destiny on the west. Obviously, an open week this week, I think could be good, could be bad. I think we're playing really good football. Almost wish we could continue, but you use this open week to do some things that you need to fine tune some things as you get ready for that last third of the season. You travel to Arkansas State, not going to be an easy trip. That's a tough place to go, and they just announced today it was 11 o'clock kickoff, so it's going to be an early game on the road, which we haven't seen that yet. And then you get to come home for Texas State, a team that over the last 3 or 4 years has played extremely well. They're not playing great football right now, but they're going to come into the Rock and give us our best. And then you got to go to South Alabama, a tough place to play once again. And you mentioned a while ago, it's a rivalry game, a game that you want to see Southern Miss come out on top. So South Alabama's been a team that's kind of had our number over the last several years, not just in football, but in baseball and basketball as well. And then if you can take care of business, you come home that weekend after Thanksgiving and you get an opportunity to host Troy. Hopefully that will decide the Western Conference champion.
Lee, this is Marshall. I told you as we got started, I'd show up sooner or later, and I'll be hollering way out of time. Man, I tell you what, it has flown because you have done such an outstanding job. Thank you so much for taking time to share.
Absolutely, man.
We greatly appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir. I ask you to hold on just a minute. Dale and I are going to take a break here from one of our sponsors and be back with tonight's final segment of the Brouhaha after this commercial break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back to tonight's final segment of the Brouhaha. I tell you what, I enjoyed that conversation, or listening. I mean, I'm telling you, that guy can go.
Well, I didn't ask very many questions.
No, you didn't have to. That man knows how to do an interview, doesn't he?
He sure does.
And I tell you, filled us in. And I remember his playing days over there, man. He was something special. A lot of stuff going on out there in the old sports world, Dale.
Yes, sir?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Ole Miss got a big win this past weekend.
They did, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
But I was worried for them a little bit there, and toward the end.
Yeah, it got kind of,
they got that little lead, and the biggest thing, people, I don't know. I'm always been a great proponent of you play keep away in football. People don't understand what I'm saying. I want to have the ball more than the other team. Ole Miss kept the ball for 35 minutes of the 60-minute game. Okay. That meant almost 2/3 of one quarter they had the ball longer than Oklahoma. I think that helped Ole Miss defense greatly. Ole Miss defense has still got some question marks. And I think if Oklahoma would have had another 5 minutes or even 10 minutes, they would have scored at least once more. And the only thing I thought Ole Miss did wrong in the ball game, they couldn't make the first down late in the ball game, and they had to give up the ball. And then Oklahoma, had a chance, but they didn't score. But still, you don't like to put your defense on the field in the last minute of the game. But anyway, I thought Ole Miss did good. I thought Southern Miss, man, I tell you what, they came out and they were just getting after it. Like he said, Braylon Braxton is a very, very talented quarterback. He's tall, he's lanky, he can run, he can throw the ball. He's no Reggie Collier, folks, but he's a good.
He's no Reggie Palmer either.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry about that, Reggie. But anyway, he is a great quarterback.
Yeah.
I think he threw 4 touchdown passes the other day. I think it was 4. And I mean, he's just really, really, really good.
Mississippi State has struggled, but I tell you what, they had a fine. I mean, I say a fine. It's easy for me. I'm watching them pulling for them. They played it to the hilt there for this weekend, didn't they?
Oh yeah, and listen, you know that's the third game in the SEC that they've had a chance to win. You know, Florida the week before, they came down to one play.
I think they're doing. I mean, you want to win, but I mean, you know,
Well, I don't want to see what's wrong with the coach. Okay, the coach might make one or two bad calls, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But Lane Kiffin made a horrible call in the Oklahoma game.
Oh my goodness! What in the world was he thinking?
20-yard line against the best rushing defense. You know, people don't understand. I think they said somewhere, I read it, and I'm inaccurate on the numbers, I'll tell you that. But anyway, Oklahoma in their previous 7 ball games had given up 62 points. We get 32. But it's hard to run against them guys.
I thought that was the most physical inside tackling I've seen this year.
Oh, yeah.
Man, they'll light you up.
And that number 0 got after us.
Yes,
he ran his mouth, but he got after us.
He sure did. Well, listen, Dale, I got to slow you down, man. You're on a roll. I hate to stop you, but we're about out of time, dog.
How?
Man, time flies when you're having fun.
Jamie, give us another hour.
Look here. Listen, folks, we appreciate y'all tuning in. We appreciate our guests for being with us tonight. I want to remind you that you can keep up with us and follow us during the week on Facebook at the Brouhaha, and all the shows are cataloged for you to listen to on demand at our YouTube channel, the Brouhaha. But for now, it's time to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, folks, and we'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Del McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.